Good day, everybody. It is Calxiyn and Hunter here, and today we are answering all of your questions that you had about our RWBY opinions.
Ask me any RWBY opinions.
I have to answer 100%
No
honestly.
nuance, no explanation. Let's fucking do this.
Well, no, there will be explanation. Probably,
I won't.
not nuance though. I don't know.
I'll say the best male character is Y, and I'll let it hang in the air like a stale
my God.
fart.
And
Let's
so,
do
yeah,
this.
this is gonna be interesting. And if you guys want to see more of these, let us know, of course, because I think that people didn't necessarily understand the assignment completely, because we got some who's your favorite character? Which is that an opinion? I guess, but that's more of a question. We need
That is, they're asking
do you
what
think
your
that
opinion
Yang is
is
good or not? You know what I mean? Do you think Yang is well written? That I think is more of an opinion-based question. Whereas what's your favorite semblance? But you know what I mean? For this is supposed to be spicy, guys. So under this video, leave us some more spicy ones, and we'll do a part 2. Okay? But let's get started with the questions we do have. Have you ever gotten disappointed with how slow RWBY's character development was throughout RWBY's entire runtime? Yeah, I would say I understand where people come from, about RWBY sometimes, because characters like Blake and Weiss went through very dramatic transformation and stuff like that, but I feel like that RWBY almost serves as this ever consistent I don't want to say stagnant, because that sounds like a bad thing.
Well, I don't think she's stagnant. I think it's just that her development is not, you're no longer a racist like it is with Weiss, where it's dramatic. Her thing was oh, you believe in yourself and your ability as a leader, and your willingness to stand up for yourself and go against the powers that be to save the day.
Yeah, and that's been a very...
I think, consistent, but it's a lot subtler.
Yeah, and I think that if you look at Volume 1 RWBY compared to Volume 7 and 8 RWBY, you will see the result of that, right? RWBY standing up to Cordovan and stuff like that, right? And so I feel that, I don't know. It's hard because I don't want to say that RWBY's supposed to be, because, really, she's not supposed to be anything. But I feel like that, to some extent, RWBY is supposed to be the one, she's the glue that holds everyone together in a way. Yeah. And I think that, it's going to change, though. I think that, with the island thing, we're gonna get some really dramatic, RWBY facing the trauma and, processing that her mom is probably the Hound or something else.
But
you know what I mean? We did get a little bit of that, but just
also,
more.
I don't think that a character being static or more static or less changing means that they're bad, because I still think that RWBY's an enjoyable character.
That's kind of what I mean, that RWBY's kind of the constant, right? Yeah. That I don't know, in every story there's just that character that doesn't really change that much, that dramatically, but they're there as sort of that support to everyone else.
They're cohesive to the story nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think that RWBY's supposed to be the hope that's always been there. The hope that's always been there to change the world, you know?
Static.
Yeah, I don't think she's purely static either. But this person's just saying slow, how slow.
Yeah, not so I guess I haven't been disappointed.
And I don't mind with how slow it is. I think that there have been some weird development things with, and I don't know, maybe we'll get there, because I think there maybe was a question about this, but I think that Blake and Weiss in Volume 7 and 8 were done dirty, which goes back to my other question about the Atlas arc,
I think Blake is done dirty. Weiss gets some stuff.
Yeah, but Blake was done so dirty. Fine, if you want to say that Weiss got stuff, whatever, but Blake was done so dirty, and, that's another reason why I'm sort of mixed on the Atlas arc. Again, not mixed enough to be oh, the Atlas arc was bad, but it's just Blake. You know what I mean? Blake makes me sad. Well, she didn't,
but everyone else was the one that was having the dramatic
And I think that's sad. I think having Blake in a relationship with both Yang and Sun at the same time by mutual consent could make for some tense, funny love triangle moments. What do you think? Could it work? Would it be fun? Okay.
That would be funny.
Here's my, I don't know, some people may find this controversial, but I'll go ahead and say it. Yes, but no. I think in a fan fiction scenario, I do find that funny. I like a polycule. It's fine, right? And so I think that, that's interesting. In terms of the actual show, the fandom is not mature enough for that, right?
I don't know if any fandom's mature enough to deal with a polyamorous
it would cause more problems than it would solve.
Yeah,
and,
probably.
I also just think that, RWBY is not inherently about romance, and so in order for that to kind of function in the way that this person is saying, you would have to make it focus a lot on, a love triangle, which I think is a bit of a distracting element compared to just like Blake and Yang being in a relationship as teammates and that slowly evolving because they're in the same adventure. Whereas, like, I don't know, to work Sun back into the relationship at this point, you would need to do some actual work. Right? And so I think in terms of the actual canonicity of the show, no. In terms of a fanfic, yeah, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of funny. I like Neo with Fox and Neo with Coco and Neo with Velvet. Like, you know what I mean? And Coco with Velvet and Fox with Neo.
Okay,
you know
so
I mean?
I just want to point out that you dress and dye your hair like Neo and then imagine her dating all the attractive women. And I'm not suggesting... I think my controversial RWBY opinion is that you've officially gone off the deep end.
Oh my god.
With your association with Neo. Unrelated, I think that's cute. I don't know how great it would work within the show.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because I feel like it would be too much. It would be too many goofy characters.
Yeah.
And I do just feel that Blake works better with Yang than she does with Sun, but in a fanfiction context,
I think Blake works better with Weiss than she does with Yang.
Well, yes, I agree. Well, that's also my RWBY spicy opinion, that I think monochrome works better. But I don't know. At the end of the day, so long as Blake is tugging on blonde hair, I don't think she can really tell the difference.
And so, yeah, I think it's cute. I don't see any, like, major, like, structural issues, like, you know? Like, I think it's fine, but not for the show. Your opinion about Blake.
I love her. She's my little meow meow.
Yeah, I love
smooch
Blake
her on
too.
the forehead.
I will say though.
I wish they did the White Fang stuff better, but that's not her problem. That's
something that we already said was like the White Fang, obviously, and then also they did like dirty in Volume 7 and 8.
It's just that she's not the focus.
It's not even that. It's that like she doesn't care about anything. Like
I don't agree with that.
Well, not okay. Anything may be a stretch. Blake doesn't care about the things that she used to care about as much, like in terms of social justice and things like that. Like a lot of that seems to have been given to Nora, which is fine because Nora should care about that too. Because Nora and Ren were orphans.
And Blake both did the same thing.
Right, like they both have dialogue about it, but Nora to me has stronger, more memorable like dialogue about it, where she actually confronts Ironwood directly. Whereas you would think that given Blake's history and her, like, you know, fear not to confront authority to some extent, right? She tells Ozpin to his face that humans are not doing a good job. Like, you know, she's like, with all due respect, Ozpin, you're not doing a lot for me here,
but she she doesn't sass him, but she does go up there to kick his ass. Like,
right. But I'm just saying, I think that they could have done more with Blake in the social justice aspect of it.
Yeah,
and like giving more, like building that to Robin, that Robin isn't like Adam, which they do slightly in that conversation when they're trying to get Robin to talk to her. But I think they just could have done that a lot more. Like it's there. The signs are there. The puzzle pieces are there. They just didn't address it as much as I think that they could have, because they could have made a direct, like, listen, like I've seen, you know, people like Adam, and Robin isn't like Adam. She actually cares about the people that she's, you know, trying to protect, right? And so I think that they could have just done a lot more with Blake, because Blake has seen two things. She has seen the rise of, like, tyranny, and she has also seen, like, the rise of, like, good social justice leaders as well. Like, she's seen both of those things. She knows what those things look like. So Ironwood should set off, in theory, a lot more red flags for her than I think that it does. And I think that Robin should have been, you know, brought up as a greater point, I guess you could say, right? And so I think both of those things, they just could have done so much more with Blake in the social aspect of everything and what Blake cares about. But they made her kind of like, I don't know. They didn't make it as strong as she could have been. I'm not going to say she doesn't care, because I think that's too, like, extreme. But I think
they toned
her down, if that makes sense. They toned her down from what I see Blake as being, right? Yeah. Which is a lot more vocal than she is in Volume 7 and 8, I think. Your opinion about Jaune? Well,
I used to think he was really annoying, but then, like,
same opinion.
Then starting in Volume 6, I just love him so much now. And I feel like retroactively, it has made me like him more.
Yeah, I think that, like, to some extent, in hindsight, Jaune didn't deserve as much hate as Jaune gets.
It's just that the Jaune fans were a little out there.
Yeah, and I think that, like, now, I think that we can say that Jaune is, like, he's good. He's okay.
He's a good bean.
Right?
I like him. He's a straight man that I respect.
Oh my god.
The second he got,
Volume 7 did a lot, too. The
Volume
haircut.
6 and 7 and 8, the second he got, like, queer-eyed and he has a new haircut and he's, like, getting hit on by all the women.
And so, I don't think that, like, I used to really hate Jaune. I don't really hate ultimately, like, I guess I could do without him if I, like, had to pick one to get rid of in Team, you know, in Team Juniper. But, like, I think he's alright. Like, I think that
if my daughter brought home Jaune, I would say,
God.
you know what? He'll treat you right.
I think that
he's
my
stupid,
opinion
but
about
he's pretty
Jaune
and
is a
he'll
lot
treat you right.
better than it was in
like
before.
a golden retriever.
You know what I mean? Like, than it was in the past, for sure.
Used to be you could find very
You could find very old Calxiyn contact.
Where we're in a different room, we have pimples.
You know what
we're
I mean?
in our high school uniform. It's a bad look, but we didn't like Jaune.
What do you think of a redemption arc for Raven Branwen? Well,
I think that all evil MILFs deserve redemption.
I think the weird thing about Raven is that she's just like gone. Like, I really expected her to show up in Volume 8.
We're Raven Watch,
and
babe.
And she may still
Raven
show up
Watch 2020.
because, like, Tai Yang was watching the TV or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people now know, like, kind of what's going on. So maybe Raven will show up. But yeah, I think that Raven's just in a weird spot right now because does she really want to be redeemed in the first place? Does she think that she's a bad mom? You know?
I think she kind of does. At the end of Volume 5, she feels a little bit bad being confronted with
but I don't know if it's... I don't know. I think that, like, that would be something that at the final battle, like, Raven stops being a coward and she comes back and she comes to help.
And she faces Salem, that thing that she always ran away from.
I think that would be interesting. But I think right now, Raven is such a, like... I was here and now I'm gone. Like, you know what I mean? That I'm not sure what they're gonna do with her, honestly. But
just like my mom.
But I like what you're suggesting, Hunter. I like that in the 11th hour, Raven will return and face the thing she's always feared because her daughter is strong enough to face
even if it kills her.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love that for Raven if she faces Branwen, even if it kills her, because
Salem.
Sorry, if she faces Salem, even if it kills her, because she's finally facing her fears and she's standing up for herself. And like Yang would be like, okay, you're still a shit mom, but I at least respect you in this
we would need more information about Stark to care. I will say that. I think that we just need a little more information about how Raven was before to care.
I think that there's going to be like the Lost Fable level episode.
I hope
where we learn about Team Stark and we're going to be crying and it's going to be sweet.
Thoughts on the retcon of Raven meeting with Yang at the end of Volume 2. So I don't think that this is a retcon.
It isn't.
It was a dream. They say that it's a dream, and I guess people think that that's a retcon if they say that it's a dream. But like, it was a dream. I don't know. Like, I'm okay with it just being a dream. Well, no, because some people think that basically what happened is that it was legit, but then they had to change that because they changed things. Because like, a lot of stuff changed in Volume 3, right? Like, Raven was supposed to fight Juniper, and that didn't happen. Like, they changed Raven a lot. So I think some people believe that Raven and Yang legitimately had that conversation, and it was retcon. Whereas, I mean, I guess, but I think it was a dream.
I was there at the time. I recall them saying it was a dream.
I remember it was always a dream. And so, yeah, I don't think that it's that big.
Your revisionist history.
Let's pretend that it is a retcon, though. I don't really think that it's that big of a deal, especially because that character that we see does not do Raven justice. Like, does not look like Raven. Like, you know what I mean? It's clearly just Yang with the color palette swap, so I think it's a lot more like, this is like Yang struggling, like, with the, you know, the inner demons inside, like, or something. Like, you know what I mean? But I do think, in hindsight, it is a pretty pointless inclusion, I think. You know?
I feel like in Marvel movies and in RWBY, half of all the end scenes in these shows are kind of useless.
But compared to the other ones, this was like the most useless one, and I don't think it needs to be there. It adds no value, and it's just kind of strange. Because they already had the Raven model with the mask on, but maybe they couldn't notify her enough.
It was meant to communicate that Yang and Raven had a kind of relationship.
Right, but like it was at odds or something, some sort of metaphorical thing. But yeah, I think that they didn't need to put it there. I think it's just kind of dumb in hindsight. They should have done something else to predict,
really,
like,
we wanted to see Team
stuff.
RWBY eating shawarma.
Oh my god. Who do you think should strike the killing blow to Cinder? See, this person, they understood the assignment. They knew that we needed
something spicy.
Right? Okay.
So is it Jaune or RWBY? Because I feel like it's one of these two.
I don't think that it should be either of those, actually.
Okay.
I think there are some options, right? There are some options. However, I think the way that I would like to see Cinder's arc resolve is that she dies by her own sort of, I don't want to say hubris.
She's killed by Salem?
No, not even by Salem, but just like that the Grimm Grim sort of takes over her and eats her alive. Like, she is killed by her own...
I could see that.
Like, I don't even know how to explain it. She's just killed by her own actions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, the consequences of her own actions finally, like, catch up to her in a way. And that can be through a direct death, but the way I'm sort of imagining is, like, for example, let's just say she goes to use her Grim arm and the arm turns on her and attacks, and, like, she chokes herself out, but she has no control of it anymore. Something like that. Not that dark.
Not that.
'Cause that's kind of scary.
Or
but,
it's not, but something more like she's no longer looks human.
Yeah, or something like that. Something
She loses her humanity.
Well, that's not exactly what I mean, because I do mean the Grim literally eating her alive in some way. Like, that the Grim completely takes over.
That's what I mean.
And the Grim's inherent mission is to snuff out aura and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, it would turn on her first. If the Grim has enough sentience to function like a normal Grim, it would kill the nearest human that is around it, and it is her. So I think that it would be not that the monster is taken over completely, but that Cinder is, like, still Cinder and aware, and the monster has just grown to overpower and attacks her and kills her.
I don't know if that's how she's gonna... I could see that's part of her downfall, like, kind of a Zula-ish.
Yeah.
Where, like, her own, like... I guess, need for revenge and destruction becomes her downfall.
But this person said who, so I think that, like, this person's fishing for the debate of RWBY or Jaune.
Personally, between RWBY and Jaune, I think it should be Jaune.
Between RWBY and Jaune, I think it should be Neo.
I'm leaving.
I'm sort of kidding.
I know you're not.
Let me explain who I would have in what order and why. Salem, because I think that is thematically interesting. That like Salem just used Cinder and threw her away, and like it's, you know, something like Scar throwing Mufasa off the cliff. Like Cinder thinks that Salem's gonna help her and she doesn't. I think that that's actually very interesting. Okay, the reason why I'm bringing up Neo, this would only be in the scenario where Neo actually starts to side with RWBY and wants revenge for Roman. Then Neo would do it, I guess, with the help of RWBY. So that's like a Neo and RWBY, not Neo by herself, because I think that that would be a little weird. Well, I mean,
I think it'll have to be a team effort.
Yeah. So I mean, like, Team RWBY, I guess, but I mean, like, RWBY and Neo alongside each other, if that were to happen.
Okay, how about this? When the person when she's about to die, who delivers the sassy monologue, like, go fuck yourself, you're dead?
I feel like that's such a Neo thing to do compared to RWBY. RWBY doesn't take joy in hurting people.
Yes, but I don't think Jaune would be like, I think he'd say something like,
I don't think Jaune's here in this scenario. In the scenario I'm thinking of, Jaune's not here. So hold on, let me keep going down the list, okay? Then RWBY, because I feel like that RWBY and Cinder have the most, like, parallel connection, that RWBY should land the killing blow, right? And so that's, like, the order.
I guess, like, they are
Neo's conditional, but then RWBY's next, and then Jaune. Just because I think I don't think that Jaune should have that much importance to strike the killing blow.
I don't know. Okay, I think I like the idea of, like, Salem screwing her over, and then it's Neo, RWBY, and Jaune that takes her out at the very end.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of Jaune just doing something like, not even like this one's for pure, but just like, I used to be afraid of you.
I just think people overvalue Jaune and Cinder's connection, if that makes sense.
I do agree that RWBY has a better connection.
RWBY still lost Kira, and RWBY lost Penny.
That's
right, so I think that that's just more important. The only reason why I'm bringing up Neo is again in that theoretical scenario where she turns against Cinder, because then Cinder did kill Roman, and so I feel like she has a kind of a good reason. But I would prioritize Team RWBY over Neo, and I would prioritize Salem over Team RWBY, and then Jaune would be last. Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right. Glad we agree. Thoughts on Harriet? Did she work for you as an antagonist?
Yes, she's like a Clover that didn't totally drink the Kool-Aid that can still be communicated.
Yeah.
Like if Marrow is on one side, easier to convince of like, hey, you're a fascist, and on the other side you have Clover where you cannot convince them all. Harriet's kind of in the middle, so it made her a more interesting like win over, like ideologically.
Yeah.
I like her.
The one thing I will say about Harriet, okay? Hunter's finding out so many things about me today.
Okay.
I think that they should have talked about what happened to Tortuga. Tortellini? No.
Tortellini.
Oh, yeah, so I think that they should have talked about what happened with Tortellini more.
But don't you but it's one of those, it's like the show don't tell type thing. So.
Right. But I wish they showed that more then. Not necessarily, she doesn't need to have a monologue about how she lost him and how much that meant. Like, you can kind of see it in the subtext.
But it also makes sense because it's like rabbit and, it's like the tortoise and the hare.
I wish that they focused on that relationship more. And I may even suggest that you have Clover be Tortaluga, and that when Clover dies, that's when she loses.
When you ever have an opportunity to whack.
No. I'm not saying to get rid of Clover. I'm saying just to make Clover her partner originally, who kind of rose up in the ranks.
Sure.
And she became a subordinate, and so their friendship became a little weird because they were partners before, and now he's in charge and whatever. And so maybe then that loss would have been more present because it you know what I mean? It would have happened on screen versus this character. We don't even know what he looks like. We've never seen him. She doesn't have a picture of him in her wallet and anything. And
Is it even a him? Do we know it's a him?
I don't know. I just kind of assumed that it was. But yeah, we know that Marrow replaced Tortuga. But we don't know what happened to Tortuga. And I know, I understand show don't tell. What I mean,
Tortuga backstory novel coming when E.C. Myers.
You know, when I say I wish that they they focused on that more. I don't necessarily mean Harriet being I'm so sad because I lost someone once. I just mean for that to be more prevalent. Maybe she does have a wallet or something, a badge, and inside the badge you see a tiny picture of Tortellini, right? So I'm just gonna call it the wrong thing because Tartaglia.
So you know that she was really traumatized when she lost her best friend.
And that's why she pushes everybody away.
Yeah.
And so I think that that would have been
because
that's just the one thing I think is just a little, I think that's just tonsillitis. That's the one thing that I think that Harriet could have been more.
Rest in peace, Tornado.
I think that could have been something to heighten her character already. Yeah. And it would have made me sympathize, I think, with Harriet more if I had seen at least a little bit of the person she had lost.
I know, but that's kind of how life is. You only ever get glimpses.
Yeah, but it's a story, Hunter. It's not real. It's supposed to have narrative function.
Yeah, but you need it's a narrative economy. You can't bog it down too much with background characters. Although you've never looked at a background character and thought, oh, we should definitely bog down this character, shouldn't we?
Which character would you want to bring back or rewrite their death?
Sienna? I feel like they could have at least showed her more.
Yeah.
Had her be more because I talk about someone with amazing design. I thought her design was super cool.
I know, yeah, exactly.
I really dug her her kind of mythos. I mean, if I could rewrite anything, I'd make it so the White Fang wasn't shit.
Right.
Wasn't a really disappointing part of that. But with her death, I just wish she was given more time to be cool before they whacked her. Because I feel like they just gave her, not to say that hasn't historically what happened to a lot of radical revolutionaries throughout history.
Right.
So it makes a kind of sense that she
did her kind of dirty, right?
But I think they did her dirty, and I'd like to see her again.
I'm gonna say Hazel. And it's not because he's the worst. But he was so ambiguously dead that we didn't have time to mourn, and the characters didn't have that big of a reaction to it happening, so it felt kind of strange other than Emerald, which I kind of understand because they're not that close to him. But don't you remember we did a video about why Hazel's death was kind of strange?
Weird, because they didn't make it dramatic.
Watts' death was also kind of strange, and I kind of like Watts' death because
Watts' death was pretty good.
Watts' death is ironic because Watts wanted to go out in glory, and instead he just chokes to death on some smoke, right?
Yeah,
right. So I think that
screwed over by the person he bad talked.
So that actually has some irony of Watts dying in a non-theatrical way, but I think that Hazel's the one where we were it feels like that nothing happened. He died, but did he? Nothing happened. That was the one that was kind of weird, and we made a video about that.
But I think it was really cool and dramatic, where he was just no more bodies or something.
It was just the reaction to the character. There wasn't a lot of reaction to it actually.
We just needed Ozpin looking really shook.
Yeah, or Oscar looking sad. You know, I feel that would have been nice question.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel
those two, I think generally.
The importance of death has declined recently, except for like Penny was really dramatic and traumatizing.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
but
like,
I like
Watts and Hazel were very strange in a way, you know? Just like how like they were around for so long and then
I
they
don't
just
know, man. That's how war happens. Like you just die.
I guess, but this isn't war. It's a story. It's a show. It's supposed to be.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Favorite and least favorite semblances and why? And so again, this is like something that I wouldn't consider like getting too spicy. Like, you know what I mean? It's not as spicy as I wanted, but we'll go for it. We'll answer it anyway. I think that my favorite is Weiss's actually. Like, I just think that Weiss's semblance is really cool in terms of sort of the necromancy element of being able to summon the things you killed. I like that.
That's kind of fucked up when you really think about it.
Yeah, I like that it's like generational. What do you say? That it's
inherited.
Yeah, inherited. I thought that was a really cool element.
Imagine if she killed like your mother and then like you were grieving your mother and
oh my god, but it's just the grip, right? It's just the grip.
Your mother.
I will say
we don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know
as
that.
As far as we know, I guess.
Well, because she's never murdered a human.
Well,
what if she murders a human and she can start summoning that human?
But yeah, and so in terms of like, least favorite semblances, I would say, here's I guess the controversial part of it. I would say my least favorite semblances are the ones that are just like Avatar elements disguised as a set. Like, my semblance is water manipulation, right? Like, anyone can have water manipulation, you know what I mean? And to some extent, sure, like, some people have super speed like Ruby, whatever, but it's made uniquely Ruby in the sense of, like, bursting into rose petals and stuff like that, right? Or, like, Blake's clones are sort of, like, unique to Blake in a sense, right? And it has the dust quality, and so sometimes you see clones in anime, but they're not clones that actually react to the dust in tandem, and so, you know what I mean? So I think my least favorite ones are the ones that, like, they aren't Ruby enough, because Ruby's speed is still Ruby bursting into rose petals, or, like, Yang taking hits is still, like, you know, it has that quality of the hair on fire. When Neptune, like, controlling the water, it's just, like, he's, you know, Katara,
and he's afraid of water, so it's useless.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? And so I would say my least favorite semblances are the ones that are just like,
lives in
any other show, this would just be something else. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that properly.
That don't feel particularly unique.
Yeah, they're not very unique. They're just like, I shoot fire, okay? You know what I mean? They're just witchy things, or like Avatar, like those sorts of shows that have like elemental manipulation. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's sort of like my least favorite. That's kind of an interesting thing with the maidens too. Here's my controversial maidens opinion that nobody asked for. I think that instead of the maidens wielding all the elements, they should have had it so the maidens had like, and this sort of already exists, right? Because we see Cinder do this, like, oh, I use this in ways you could never imagine. But I think that they should have kind of got it, like, fuck all the elemental stuff and have it be like the most heightened, like, extreme version of like the semblance that you already have. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or that you could take the semblance to like 40 different new places, whereas if you evolve your semblance naturally, you can only evolve it like 3 times or whatever, right? Like, I think that the maidens being able to wield all the elements is just strange, because we get into that Avatar territory where it's like other shows do that, and like there are characters in RWBY that have cooler semblances than elemental manipulation, and all the maidens are sometimes elemental manipulation. The characters do use it to do interesting things sometimes.
Like Amber was just that.
But yeah, like Cinder uses it to make her weapons and like stuff, and that was cool and whatever, and like fly, but like I don't know, there are other things I think they should have done with the maiden powers to make them more unique, because I just think there are people with cooler semblances than the maiden powers, which is kind of strange, like when you actually consider and think about it.
My favorite would probably have to be Crow's bad luck.
Yeah, like how it functions, I guess.
Because it's so amusing. If I was him, I would just like hang out at hospitals, or like
you're a bad person.
Or like well, you
know where you
casinos?
Should be, Hunter? You should be outside of like Wall Street or something and make all those bankers lose their money.
But then it's like, that's work. Then it's like, oh, I'm causing a financial crash.
No, not for them, not for us.
Fair enough.
Saying you should use your bad luck to dismantle capitalism, Hunter. You know what I mean?
I just feel like they should have. I think that like Crow should get pooped on by seagulls more than he does.
But you know what I mean?
You know, but I got you. You want to dismantle capitalism
with the bad luck, I guess.
I'm just gonna hang around politicians I don't like.
But what's your least favorite?
Oh, least favorite would have to be Hazel.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's just a masochist, and like, that's not special.
No, we're all masochists.
Yeah, we're all freaks in the sheets here.
Oh my god. Okay.
Where's my anime?
What do you think about semblances as a battle system and just a world building aspect of RWBY as a whole? That's a very loaded, there's a lot to unpack there.
I like it.
I don't see anything wrong with like semblances. Like, you know, some people have shitty ones, but I guess that's just life. Like it do be like that, right? Like it do be like that sometimes, right? This is life. You know, in terms of world building, here's my other spicy hot take for today, okay?
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
In terms of like fashion and like what
does this have to do with semblances?
Hold on. No, world building. So in terms of Atlas, in terms of like as the world.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Can I ask a question? What does this have to do with semblances?
World building!
Cal,
I'm sorry, I thought it was semblances and world building.
I literally told you that, and you were like, no, you're not, and it's like...
But that's what I didn't understand. You didn't express why. I think that semblances are interesting in the context of Volume 6. I think before that, it was kind of like, just like...
What happens in Volume 6?
Well, in Volume 6, we find out, like, oh, like, dust is the remnants of the humans that came before.
That was the point I made. Yeah, it's a semblance of the power magic that humans used to have.
Yeah, and so I think that, like, in Volume 6 is actually very interesting.
Because I feel like it's like, oh, they were actually sprinkling this very early on.
Yeah, I think, though, semblance in tandem with dust, I think, can always be a little better. Because, like, plant dust exists. Have we ever seen it? No. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
gravity dust, time dilation dust.
Well, no, there's no time dilation dust. We made that up, remember?
Ugh, yeah, whatever. Anyway.
But yeah, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that, there's just, I think that dust has the biggest issue right now. Like, as the series has gone on, dust has become less important in favor of semblances, and I liked it more when dust and semblances were used together, like Blake's clones having that, like, if she uses ice dust, they become ice clone. Yes. Yay! And we still do see some of that stuff sometimes. But I would say that, like, that's something that they've kind of dropped off on. Like, I like the evolution of semblance. Like, I like how Ren's semblance evolves and all that stuff. I just don't like what happened to the dust as the series, like, continued. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of the dust not being as important and whatever anymore. How do you guys currently feel towards RWBY's current trajectory? Honestly,
the quality,
a little nervous.
I think, will be good, but I also don't think that Rooster Teeth is going to survive as a company.
Scared. Yeah.
And, like, if it gets sold off to, like, Warner, then it's going to get the Genlock treatment and look and be like shit.
I think that it's going to be okay. I say that very hesitantly, but...
If it's not going to be okay, I'm going to have to find another, like, bizarre niche interest, and that's going to be really annoying.
I think that, like, in terms of the actual trajectory of, like, the story, I think we're in a very interesting place right now, where I think that, like, this Wonderland thing, people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. Like, there's probably not going to be a lot of, like,
I have a feeling this is going to be a controversial one.
Yeah, it's going to be a controversial and very different season. In terms of, like, RWBY in general, I don't know. Like, my dream is that Rooster Teeth collapses except for the animation department. But I also know that that's not very realistic. Like, you know what I mean? To just be Rooster Teeth animation and for the rest of Rooster Teeth
I just want RWBY to continue and be a good show. And if Rooster Teeth croaks immediately afterwards,
so I'm a little concerned, but I don't know. I also think RWBY does make enough money for them to try to do good by it. So I guess we'll see. But yeah. Are there any writing faults or things that you would change about your favorite RWBY character if given the chance?
I would make Blake Dick Weiss.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. That's a big one. Yeah, we would probably, like, the monochrome rewrite is definitely strong in my heart. Yes. You know, I think that, like, but that's not, like, Blake's not my favorite character. So they asked about what I would change about my favorite character.
Oh,
and I think that this question is going to be best answered after Volume 9. Because I can't shake, and maybe this is kind of, like, delusional and probably won't happen, I can't shake that they are going to fuck up Neo in a way that I hate, and that I'm gonna be really sad for a while. And so I think that this question, the faults that they haven't created with Neo yet because she hasn't gotten that much screen time to be ruined in the first place, whatever those faults are, those are probably gonna be the ones that I want to fix. You know what I mean? Because, like, I have faith, but also, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I have that much faith, you know what I mean? Because, like, that's something that people joke around about. Like, once a RWBY character is given too much screen time, that's when they start to be, you know what I mean? Like, Cinder getting her backstory did not help with
Okay,
Cinder
well,
and
I
like
still love
sort
Cinder,
of things
so-
like that.
and you're
you
just
know?
wrong. So
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
know, but I'm just saying that like Cinder's backstory created a writing fault.
Okay,
You could say,
maybe
right?
I would make Cinder's backstory more horrific and frightening. I would also make it so that Penny never has the "is she a man" line in the first season.
That's the writing fault that you would change.
That's the one thing I'd change pretty solidly with Penny,
Yeah.
my queen.
But other than, I need to think of who else is my favorite character other than Neo, because Team Coffee is perfect and they have
Fox,
no flaws.
Roman?
Yeah, they have no flaws. They are
Roman
perfect.
has
So
no
we have
flaws?
to, no, Roman has no flaws.
Okay, he is without sin.
Actually, I will say,
He can cast a stone.
there's something weird that happens, and this doesn't happen in the book, but in the show and in the manga, we don't get a very good sense of Roman's relationship with Neo. Like, we know that he cares about Neo because he's, like, clearly distressed when she, like, flies off the building and stuff.
Yes.
But in the manga, there's a very strange, and I guess the mangas are sort of like, canon until they're not canon, right? But like, I don't know, somebody still wrote that, like somebody from Rooster Teeth still approved it, so I still think that it counts to comment as a writing fault. But like, Roman's like really mean to Neo. He's like, you just have to do what I say and stay out of my way or something. Like, it treats it as if Neo is one of Cinder's henchmen and not his buddy or whatever, his partner in crime that he's been doing crime with for 10 years. So if I had to say anything, I think that like, they had some weird ambiguity about Neo and Roman and how Roman felt about her, both in the show, but then mostly in the manga. And I think it's because Neo was associated with Cinder at the tournament in Volume 3. So I think some people actually thought that Neo was one of Cinder's, like, buddies, but, like, she's not, right? So in terms of hindsight, I would say that maybe showing a bit more of their relationship and maybe even having Neo be there in Volume 1 a bit more, even though she was, like, a last-minute addition in Volume 2, so I understand. Like, I know why, factually, that Neo didn't exist in Volume 1, but if I had to rewrite the show, maybe put her back, like, make her exist, and fix that, like, with Roman. If it has to be about my favorite character, there's tons of writing faults I can comment on about my least favorite characters. In terms of my least favorite RWBY season, this is gonna be, it's probably Volume 5. Everybody's is Volume 5, really.
I will say one thing is that when they released that RWBY, like, all together, so it's like, you could just, if you watch it like a 3-hour movie, it's way better. But I just feel like it's very slow in the middle.
Yeah,
not
like
a lot
week
of fight
to week,
scenes.
it was kind of clunky. Maybe
Yeah,
otherwise.
clunky. All in one, it's good, but like 4, I think holds up better than a lot of people remember.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel that way. 1 and 2 are like, you know, scratchy and indie.
Yeah.
But that's part of their charm. 3 is great, and everything after 6 is amazing.
I would
including
say,
6.
other than 5, if I had to pick that wasn't 1, 2, or 3, I would pick 7. That makes sense. You know, just because, like, I don't know, there's some clunky things that happen in Volume 7, too. So,
I love
if
7
I had
so
to
much.
pick,
I don't know
well,
if I
you
can
know,
pick that.
clunky things, right? And so if I had to pick a least favorite, that wasn't 5, but also wasn't 1 to 3, because 1 to 3, I think that I like too much to say that they're my least favorite. I'd probably pick 7 or 8. I think that 6 is too good to, like, be stuck in
7 or
least favorite.
8?
I'm saying other than 5, right? So we've eliminated half of the seasons. I don't think that 6, I can't say that 6 is my least favorite. And so if we're gonna go with 5 as a stereotypical answer, but 5 is no longer an option, out of 6, 7, or 8, I would probably say 7. Maybe.
Okay.
And that, like, compared, I think that 6 was, like, one of the strongest out of those 4.
Yeah,
just
sure.
in terms of,
I
like,
think
the
6
tightness
is, like,
of the
my
story.
favorite season of
Yeah,
RWBY,
and so I think that that's my
Okay.
explanation. Thoughts on the Atlas arc? I personally don't like it, even though it has some highs and lows. And so
I really
this
like
actually
it.
kind of goes back to the last thing that I was saying, so I guess these are two connected. Like, I have mixed feelings about volumes 7 and 8 in hindsight. Like, not too many, not like mixed as in I only think it was 50% good or something like that. I think that the majority of it was good. It's just that the more that time goes on, the more it gives me time to think about it, and giving me too much time to think means that I've, like, picked certain things apart that I didn't like.
What about it?
Well, I mean, okay, the obvious one is, like, the stuff that happened with Cinder. Like,
Oh my
that
God.
was questionable. But, like, you know...
My most controversial RWBY opinion is that I actually liked the Cinder backstory.
Yeah, I know. Like, some of the stuff... Okay, so with the Aesops, I'm planning on doing a video where I talk about how they could have been Team Funky, and you could have made the Aesops be Team Funky, not invent all of the Aesops. Like, you can have some of them, but we don't need all of them. And that could have given more focus to characters that people already know and like, and, like, you have, like, CL and like all that stuff and whatever.
Do
and
you
so,
really care so much about CL?
Well, no,
that you
Arnold
need
does.
to like change it.
Arnold does, but like, you know, in terms of just adding less characters and focusing on the ones that already existed and people already liked, I think that like keeping like Neon and Flint and then like making those 2 other funky members actually look good, right? Because their designs are crap, first of all. Like, let's just, right? Another one of the Atlas arc is that their designs are shitty. Not all of them. You would take 2 of the Aesops, right? Like, you would take 2 of the Aesops and stick them in Team Funky, and then you would make Team Funky the Aesops. And I think it'd be a very interesting commentary on how, like, they have been sort of brainwashed by the military and their PTSD after, right, the Atlas arc and like, or sorry, the Beacon, like the fall of Beacon and like their old like personalities, like they're still there deep down, but they've been so traumatized by what happened, and they've been sort of brainwashed into military life. Like those are characters that would have been a great example of how Ironwood, you know, brainwashes people or gets them to, you know,
I feel like you already got that with the Aesop.
But you knew Team Funky
and
before.
Do you want Neon Cat to be like, I'm very serious now?
Well, yeah,
I'm a fascism kitty now.
Well, a little bit, but then you could have them revert back to how they were at the end, and that could be a very interesting narrative
I think
arc,
that
right?
Cal is pedantic and that the Atlas art was pretty solid.
I mean, I think it was fun. I don't think the Aesop should have existed. That's my controversy. Not all of them. I would have kept Elm, and it's hard because I don't know, like, in terms of keeping, like, Marrow or Harriet, maybe I would make Elm and Harriet more into, like, one character.
Marrow and Harriet are the more interesting
and then
characters.
keep Marrow, right? So I think that Harriet and Marrow would stay in a capacity, and then be, like, and then CL would be, like, the leader, because we already saw her in sort of a powerful, like, position. But yeah, and so I'm just saying it would be interesting to see these characters, these happy, fun-loving characters who we saw before, crushed under all of this, like, you know what I mean? Crushed under the weight of the world.
Fascism.
And, like, that they've changed and they're not the same anymore.
Do you really want to see the gay
icon
they
get better, but then they
Neon
change.
Cat become
and then they
a cop?
decide not to work with
That's
Ironwood
the most
anymore.
homophobic thing I've ever said.
No, but then they change, Hunter. That's the whole point of the Aesops is the Aesops change.
Well,
so
no, some of them die.
Well, that's okay.
One of them gets speared through the chest by Tyrion.
You know, we don't need to worry about that right now.
Bootlicker to his very last.
All I'm saying is that the whole point of the Aesops is that they change at the end, and so you can showcase that better with characters who you saw how they were before. Whereas the Aesops, we never saw the before, we just saw the results. And so I'm just saying, like, I didn't want this to be a whole Team Funky explanation, because I do want to make a video about it, but I think that there are some things with the Atlas arc they could have tightened up. The other thing, okay, this may just be a fan fiction thing, but Winter and Robin should have knew each other in school. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Robin should have been in the military, and like at the same time as Winter, maybe they were even on the same team, and all of the Happy Huntresses were on a team together, all 3? How many are there? Anyway.
5 of them.
Whatever, how many there are of them. All of them, right? And maybe they were on, like, there was, like, Team RWBY and Team Juniper, but instead it was Winter's team and Robin's team, and they were friends or whatever.
I had canon
right? And then, like, they, you know, and then Robin left, and, like, there was this whole thing. So I think that they should have just done more in terms of the interpersonal relationships in some of those characters, too.
I believe that Winter and Robin should have dated in college, and they broke off, and one of them became a cop, and the other one became a socialist.
That's interesting.
I would like that.
Right?
With a trans girlfriend, and she's definitely dating May.
Yes, and so I think that that's, I don't know, I just think that there was a lot more that they could have done with some characters, and Atlas has kind of an overbloated cast in some regard, and you could definitely get rid of some of them and combine them and make everything more, like, unified. Is Volume 4 good?
Yeah, it's alright.
I think it's
pretty
good.
solid.
I think that, like everything, Volume 4 has a couple, like, weird things going on because all the girls are separated.
I think it was so different that it threw people off.
Yeah, because it did get some bad reception when it first happened.
And
like,
I think
you know
that people also didn't love a lot of the fight scenes.
Yeah. I think in hindsight, though, if
pretty
Volume
solid.
5 was bad, Volume 4 can't be that bad. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think
worse.
that Volume 5 is bad. I think Volume 5 is, like, disappointing.
Right.
But I think this Volume 4 is so weird coming off of Volume 3 and how hype and big Volume 3 was, that Volume 4 was always going to feel small because it was a more low-key season.
Volume 4 is like a B+. Like, I think Volume 4 is,
I think it's good.
It's good, right?
It's solid.
If like volume 6 to me is like an A or something.
If my
like,
daughter brought home RWBY Volume 4, I would think, you know what?
Yeah.
He does her job.
If she brought home volume 5, I may be like, come on,
you can do better. Like, that's fine. Just like, oh
do
my
better
god.
Next time.
Please don't let him knock you up and like you'll dump him after high school and we can get on with it.
Oh, you're talking about that in terms of boyfriends. I meant it in terms of grades. I meant it in terms of like a paper.
Oh. No, that's not what I did.
Oh, man. What's your opinion on the RWBY young adult novels? Which is your favorite and why? I'm going to say something so controversial but so brave right now. Those books are better than the show. And I'm not just saying that because I like Team Coffee. And I'm not just saying that.
They're saying that because they like Team Coffee.
I'm not just saying that because I like Neo or whatever. I think that the books are better.
I think they're very good.
I mean, like, okay, better is hard because you can't compare apples and oranges,
they're my favorite.
They're like two very different mediums.
Okay, do you think it's fair to say it's the best expanded universe non-RWBY thing that we're
For sure. But what I mean by when I say they're better than the show, it's just that like a novel inherently, sometimes, I guess this isn't always true, but like
it's like a complete story.
Yeah, like novels just are able to flesh out things so much more than even like that's why people don't like movie remakes, right? Or like movie from book adaptations, right? Because the book has all the information and usually the movie will cut that information, right? And so to me, I just think that the novels are like the most complete RWBY where we get all these fleshed out character interactions where I'm like, in the show, I feel like some of this would probably be cut for time and cut for budget, but like when you're writing a book, you don't need to worry about budget like that. Like not in the same way. You can do those fantastical things and it's up. We have to animate. You put all the work, you put it on us to animate in our imagination. You know what I mean? Like when you download a car, when you pirate a car, like you can pirate the animation in your head, right? And so I just feel like that, like that's why I say that I think they're better.
I don't know why they're so complaining about crunch so much when I can just make it in my head.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? No. But you know what I mean? Like you can, there's things that you can do in the books that you cannot do in the show because the show is limited by budget and the books are not.
And time and other constraints.
And the books are limited by time too, but it's just not the same. Like it's not the same thing and you guys probably understand why. So that's why I think they're
I don't think they're better than the show, but I think they're very good. I think they're the best expanded universe RWBY thing we have. And for favorites, I think that the Roman Holiday and After the Fall are like on the same level, and then Before the Dawn is my favorite.
I'm gonna say, okay, this may surprise some of you, but I think my favorite is actually Before the Dawn. I don't think I do like Roman Holiday, and I think a lot of people expect Roman Holiday to be my favorite, and like in a way it is because they're my favorite characters, right? But I think that I don't know, there's just something about like After the Fall that was like so magical and like nostalgic, and it was the first time we ever got something like that as a fandom. You know what I mean? It was like 4 years ago, right? When times were happy and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, I'm just saying, right? But like it was like that was the first time that we really got something like that, and it just like blew our expectations away, and we got so much information about Team Coffee that we didn't have before. It was crazy.
Coco was a lesbian.
You know, not just that, but like other stuff too, and it was just heartfelt and crazy and great, right? So like by Roman Holiday, the novelty wore off, but that doesn't mean Roman Holiday is bad. It just means that we got used to the idea that books existed. But like, you know what I mean? Before
this, I have never read a book.
No, but for RWBY, before After the Fall.
In fact, I couldn't read, which is why I got Hunter to read aloud next to me.
Oh my god, but before After the Fall, like RWBY young adult novels,
and
like
by the time the third one was released, I could finally read.
Oh my
so that's why I love these books better than the show. It finally allowed me to be literate.
Maybe this is a controversial opinion too, but I think I just like books more than watching things.
That's bullshit, because you don't read anything.
Liar! Anyway.
You don't!
What are your thoughts about the character aspects?
Well, we already talked about that already, didn't we?
About that. But I do think that something that Lumin says is actually interesting. I would not change Weiss's inspiration. What I would change is Yang being Goldilocks, actually, okay? Because, like, Goldilocks... I will get there. Goldilocks is not a very strong character. Like, when my mom found out that Yang was Goldilocks, she was, like, kind of offended. She was like, really? They couldn't have given her, like, a stronger, more empowering character? Because Goldilocks is pretty basic. I wouldn't even consider Goldilocks a fairy tale. Like, it's kind of in that, like, Three Little Pigs.
Rhyme.
Yeah, like Three Little Pigs territory where it's like, you're not a fairy tale. Like, I don't know where the line is made, but like Three Little Pigs and like Goldilocks, to me, those aren't really fairy tales, you know, for whatever reason. And so I would change it. So it's actually Rapunzel, because obviously Yang has she has golden, like, flaming hair that she doesn't like to be cut.
Yeah,
right?
Rapunzel also needs to be saved by a man. She has a little more agency.
Well,
but she's not exactly...
I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, the thing with Goldilocks is she has no, like, personality.
Also, Salem exists, and she's pretty Rapunzel.
Yeah, that's true. But that doesn't really matter, because Salem is also, like, Wicked Witch vibes,
Do you really care about who's, like...
But, here's the thing, okay? Yeah, like, with Raven, she could kind of be the Mother Gothel stand-in, and that makes things very more interesting, right?
That works.
And, like, then you have, like, Summer kind of being, like, the real mom, like, you know what I mean? The real mom, and Raven kind of being this Mother Gothel character, but it's almost the reverse. Mother Gothel takes Rapunzel from her biological parents, right? But in Yang's story, it's her biological, at least one of them, her biological mother that leaves her, and instead you have, like, Summer stepping in to be that mother role, even though Summer is not, like, biologically related to Yang. And so I think that's an interesting parallel that they could have sort of played with, is that, like, Raven has the Mother Gothel tendencies, but is actually her mom, whereas Summer, technically in the story, would be like that stepmom or that quote-unquote Mother Gothel, but actually loved her. So you can play around with those themes. Doesn't really matter who's inspired by what. No, like, ultimately, it doesn't really come into play a lot, right? The Schnee Dust Company, right? Like, the dwarfs mining in the mine. So, you know, there's stuff like that in the show. But I did think that, like, when I first started watching RWBY, I thought it was Rapunzel. I thought Rapunzel was
the only one that's really affected their story, other than maybe Salem, is, I think, Kira being Achilles and dying horrifically and dramatically. But other than that, like, I never thought it was terribly, like, important or not necessary, but, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for.
But I think that Yang would be cooler. I think Yang would be cooler as Rapunzel. I don't know how. I think it would be a little cooler, and it would fit in with sort of the stuff that they set up with Yang more. And then also Rapunzel, obviously, you could say has some, like, abandonment issues and stuff like that, and some issues, right? And so, like, Goldilocks doesn't like have that basis as, like, an already existent thing. I think Weiss is fine, actually. Her dress looks a lot like Snow White's dress, even though she doesn't give off Snow White personality, but I don't really care about that. If you could make one thing uniform throughout the series, what would you rather unify? The engine it's run on, the outfits and designs, or the VAs and dialogue quality? So I think Hunter not accidentally, but you kind of answered this off screen. I think I have a controversial answer compared to you. Whatever, what do you mean?
Wait, hit me. At this point, you've been throwing out interesting takes the entire time. Just hit me. I'm numb to it.
I would say the outfits and the design. Because
you think Volume 1 stuff is more interesting?
I think that the villains, I think that as we kept going, the designs got kind of weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Tyrion as a human looks nice, but his clothes are kind of whack. Same with Hazel, and, like, Watts' clothes are actually nice. I like Watts' Volume 8 outfit redesign, or 7 or whatever. Like, I like the outfit redesign, but, like, Tyrion is just brown. Like, you know what I mean? Tyrion has a brown jacket, like, Hazel has brown clothes, like, something weird.
But then he also, like, he looks a little more, like, interesting in his redesign.
Like, still with body types and stuff, the characters look interesting in terms of their actual physical features. But it does feel like, to some extent, as time goes on, the clothing just kind of dropped off. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
I guess I disagree with that.
Even, I don't know, like, even Robin stuff, I like Robin and I like the Happy Huntresses, but, like, the color in RWBY, which is a show about color, has just kind of, like, gotten a little weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I would have wanted for the Happy Huntresses instead, per se. But, like, I like bright, I don't know, I just like when the outfits are, like, really bright and, like, have that sort of, like, unified color.
I don't know, I just think that, like, they're from Mantle. Mantle has that kind of hard work, like they want to work, they want to look kind of working class and blue collar and other people.
But it doesn't need to be fancy, I just mean, like, the vibrancy of the show, the saturation of the show, and you've seen that before, too.
You've made that argument,
You know, we've seen that before a little bit, so it's not the designs, it's the outfits that I think have gotten a little weird. You know?
I don't think I really have a strong opinion on any of these, because, like, part of what I like about the first 2 volumes is they kind of look like crap. Like, they have a kind of, like, indie quality.
You want to keep that?
That's sort of charming, and if you bump it, like, maybe they'll probably still not look as nice, but if they kept the cell shading, I think that would look good.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the VA dialogue, even the same, like, Ruby sounds way different.
Yeah.
But it's kind of charming, and I don't know, like, people sound different as they grow up.
I don't think that the first 2 are as... I shouldn't say noticeable, because the engine is clearly noticeable, the change, right? But I think the outfits in terms of everything is like the worst offender.
I disagree with that.
I've never had a problem with dialogue quality.
I really disagree with that.
I'm just saying, out of these 3 things, though, Hunter, like, sure, you can say that volumes 1 to 3 were kind of ugly.
I would say the engine. I would like if there was
but it's not about how it looks on the outside. It's about how it looks on the inside.
Okay, controversial opinion. A lot of like early Ruby designs look pretty crap.
Which ones?
I think Mercury looks pretty crap.
Oh yeah, he looks bad, but he still looks bad in Volume 8, so that's not changing anything.
I think he looks better.
I don't think he looks better.
I think honestly,
his clothes are his.
I think Lai, Ren, and Nora look kind of boring.
Oh.
I think that
I don't know.
Ozpin just kind of looks eh. I think about like Port and a lot of the supporting cast don't look that interesting, whereas I feel like they look more interesting.
Do you think
now.
Robin looks more interesting than Ozpin?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I don't see how.
I think I like Ozpin. I shouldn't have lumped in because I do like his design.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are a lot of characters, or like even the White Fang design. I'm not crazy about that.
I mean, but I think that like comparatively, like
Ironwood's before he became Iron Daddy, his design.
Like Ozpin, I think he has like a green, like kind of emerald suit.
But
thing
no,
I
take
it back.
I like him.
Oh, not Ozpin.
But it's like, yeah, I think a lot of those characters don't look like amazing or stunning because I feel like, but then like you have Pura or you have Ruby.
I don't think that they look stunning either. But
even Weiss's original character is like I like her newer stuff.
I like the alt outfits that they got in Volume 2. I think that was very like funky, fresh.
Yes.
You know, and so I just mean that like in terms of, I'm not saying that like in Volume 1 to 3, all the outfits were amazing. There was no misses. They were all good. Like no, there were some misses,
but I think that there's consistent. Like there's some really nice ones in this.
I think that post Volume 6, there were some questionable outfit choices, but it started with Tyrion. Like the adult villains is where it started. Like I think that that's the first time where I was like, wow, everyone's wearing brown. You know, like that's the first time that I noticed. I guess that like they didn't get the same.
But I don't think Tyrion looks bad.
Well, I don't think he looks bad either. I just wish that
I think Hazel's first design is boring.
You know.
But I don't think I
wish they kept colorful elements. You know what I mean? Like. Because I know that on one hand,
why
it's
can't you be
goofy.
A rainbow serial killer?
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I know it's kind of goofy, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, I like the Disney-esque, like, very theatrical-looking, like, you know, villain style.
Could you not wear a hat?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, I don't know how I would redesign Tyrion exactly.
I don't know. I like a lot of those.
The Aesops all wear a uniform, so that doesn't really...
But I feel like they're all kind of unique in their own way.
Right.
And also, their character design is not just their outfit design.
Right, but I'm talking specifically just about their outfits. That's why I said as people, like, I like Tyrion's, like, hair and his tail, how they're both, like, long and, like, braided.
But I also like
and,
how their
like
outfits are slightly different between the four of them.
I don't like the outfits, I guess, going forward. That's my little controversial. Not even with everyone. It's just the side characters. And then Weiss is like, you know, Italian cookie braid maybe. But like, it's just mostly the side.
Okay,
like, I think Willow looks nice and Whitley looks nice and Klein looks nice, like, for what they are and stuff. Like, I can't complain about them. It's just the happy huntresses.
Looks nice.
It's mostly just the happy huntresses and then the villains.
That's just because you're homophobic. Anyways, next question.
God. Who would win, Jaune or 10,000 rats?
Okay, so volumes 1 through 3.
The rats would win.
The rats would win. Right now, I think he probably get through half before he was eaten alive.
Okay, I agree.
Whereas before it wouldn't even be it would be a fight. He would just like run away from them. He wouldn't even stomp. He just like they'd eat him alive.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Actually, we can move on. Okay, so let's just for the fun. Okay.
Fuck, marry, kill, Neo, Fox, Roman.
Okay, hear me out. Roman is already dead. So I feel like that I can live with that, right? Like if I
kill Roman, fuck Neo, marry Fox. There.
Okay. You decided that quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Roman is a dick, right? I don't know if you can trust him.
I mean, he's in the book. Like,
Roman and Neo are criminals and a little flighty, plus they like murder people.
Right.
You know?
I think Mary Fox is the obvious choice.
Yeah.
But it's just whether or not it's fucking Roman or fucking Neo.
And fucking Roman and fucking Neo is like just your preference.
Right.
My preference is, mind you, I'm 6'2". Neo's like 4'9".
Right.
That would be difficult in the sack.
Right,
but we can make it happen.
Well, see, that's where I haven't just my bisexuality is causing a bit of like indecisiveness because I think marrying
I'm
Fox
not bisexual
obvious.
enough to be with Roman.
I think that Neo and Roman.
He's a bit of a fuckboy.
I think that with Neo and Roman, it just depends how you're feeling that day.
Yeah.
I feel like that's either way that they could switch. You know what I mean? Right now, though, my instinct is to say to fuck Neo and just let Roman still be dead because he's already dead. Okay.
I'm glad we can finally agree on something.
On that line of questioning, top 3 hottest adults in the show. Go. Salem, obviously.
Oh, we agree.
Yeah, I think we agree. Salem.
Oh, wow. Okay. I feel Glinda, personally.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Fox is an adult, but when Blizz is talking about the adults, I'm assuming he means the old people in terms of not the people that are our
who are
age,
students.
if that makes sense. Right, because like Fox is my age, so that feels like a cop-out. I would say, in that case, Salem, Roman, and Winter.
Ooh, I forgot
that's a pretty good lineup. I think that's pretty good.
There's so many I would love. Salem would have to be there.
This isn't about who you want to fuck. This is who you think is the hottest.
But I think Salem and Cinder are very. Also like Sienna.
Yeah. Okay.
Like because she has that girl boss energy about her. She's very intimidating.
Yeah.
She would frighten me. I want someone who's gonna really frighten me. And I feel like she would really frighten me and really intimidate me. So would like Glinda. Yeah. And I really don't know if I can pick between the two.
I think that my lineup's pretty solid. I like Salem, Roman, and Winter. I think those are good choices.
Would go controversially. I would have to push Cinder up because as much as she's wonderful, I don't think she'd like me very much.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm very annoying.
We're basing it on.
Whereas I feel like Salem, Glinda, yeah.
I feel like I would have found Crow hot once, and then for some reason he got like pushed into like Tai Yang zone where I'm just like, he's too old. Like, you know what I mean? Like
there's
with Ironwood.
There's a level of DILF you can't do.
I don't know. Okay. Like I feel like when Crow was introduced, he was kind of giving, like I know he's their uncle, but he was giving like older cousin, but then he just sort of drifted into...
You saw him drink a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want that in my life.
He drifted into like dad, like not daddy, just dad. Like you know.
This is my father that I don't speak to anymore.
That's kind of how I feel about like Hazel and stuff like that too.
If I had to pick, due to my biases and my preferences towards women.
If you had to pick some men, yeah.
But so it would be Sienna, Glinda, and Salem. If I had to pick men.
If you had to.
If I had to.
Most like if somebody put a gun to your head and made you.
Cause I don't. I don't not find
none of them are thirst traps, honestly. None of them
they'd have to be really, you'd have to be...
None of the adult characters are hot, except for Theodore. I know we haven't seen him, but I believe Theodore is hot. Yeah, I know.
But how I headcanon Fox as like a kind of sassy, but like a sweet little boy, a sweet boy.
Yeah,
but he's not an adult, like he'd be 18 or something.
I think Theodore is hot. We've never seen him.
Yes, I haven't seen Theodore, but if Theodore is a big goofy trans man, I would pick Theodore.
I would swap Theodore with Winter, actually. I think controversially, even though we've never seen him,
if I had to pick
I'm trusting that Theodore is attractive.
Theodore, because I just kind of want someone who also looks somewhat feminine, or has a kind of feminine energy to them. I like that in men, and I don't think that there's a lot of RWBY characters.
There's no femboy, no.
Other than like Ren, but I don't think he counts for the adults.
No.
Marrow, but he's a bit of a fuckboy, but I think we could help him. We could help him grow. I could fix him.
Scarlet?
Nah. Because I don't think he counts as one of the adults.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I forgot what we were doing for a second. I just started looking for femboys inside of my imagination.
Adult femboy representation.
I don't think Theodore's gonna be a femboy though.
No, he's
I think
not.
Theodore's gonna be like, you know what I mean?
But I can handle
like
that.
Muscles.
I can handle that, and I can handle Fox. Not Yatsuhashi, yeah, just so like he looks.
I
like,
love
no one will fuck with me.
Yatsuhashi.
And I feel like he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, but that's again not the adult character.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Obviously, there's been a large amount of time in between this season and the next. Has that affected your excitement levels for the upcoming content? Or would you rather they focus solely on RWBY and not extra spin-off content?
Listen,
Very
all right?
interesting.
The only thing that gives me, like, I don't know what it is about me, but RWBY's just one of those things that reliably gives me serotonin at this point. I close my eyes and I think of RWBY and I fall asleep.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the few things where I'm like, oh, this is a thing that reliably is gonna give me joy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if I know how to not be excited for it anymore.
Yeah.
And so, like, even if there are things to be nervous about, I'm still super excited.
Yeah. I will say, so this is gonna be the controversial part. Hunter's so tired. You're so tired of me being controversial. That's what this video is. Okay, so the last thing that I think may be like slightly controversial, and I don't mean this seriously, I mean this in a sort of like kind of like tee-hee dramatic way. I think that the hiatus has made me not care about Team RWBY as much. Just
you
because...
care more about the characters that got material?
Yeah, like I care more about, like, okay, so this wasn't in the hiatus, because I think, before the dawn happened, before the hiatus, but, like, for some reason, my actual, like, I don't care about seeing Team RWBY right now. I care about seeing Neo the absolute most. And I'm sure that'll change when we actually get the show, but when I, like, think about in my head why I'm excited, it's not to see what happened with Team RWBY. It's to see what happened to Neo.
Like, but think about, like, how much has changed. Like, before Volume 8 finished, you weren't on your Fox thing.
Right,
you weren't on your Neo thing. So right now,
Roman Holiday didn't happen, right?
So right now, your favorite characters are not Fox and Neo because that's the stuff you've been given.
And so I think that, like, that's just the one thing that I've noticed and that's happened is that after Volume 8, right, there was just hiatus, right? But then Roman Holiday came out, and that's the first time that I really cared about Neo, right? Like, I cared about Neo before, but that's the first time I really started to care about Neo. Really started
caring about Neo.
Right.
And just a whole lot. Just a whole lot.
Yeah. And so I just think that I don't know what happened, but something switched in my brain where eventually I was like, I don't even really care if Team RWBY's there or not. And I'm sure
got a new hyperfixation.
I'm sure that maybe, like, Hunter and I should probably rewatch RWBY before Volume 9 releases.
I've been rewatching some of our...
Right. But I think that we should just rewatch it, like, in general. Like, I think that we need to rewatch it. But for some reason, I'm like, I just want to get to Vacuo. I want to see Team Coffee. I want to see what Theodore looks like. Like, that's kind of who I care about. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. Like, if you ship, I don't know, if you ship Rose Garden, you're probably thinking about Oscar or something.
Sure.
Like, I don't know.
I don't think anybody thinks about their ships as much as
If you're a big Oscar fan, I'm sure you're... If you're a big Oscar fan, I'm sure you're thinking about Oscar, right? Like, I'm sure that just happens depending on which characters you like best. It's just...
And instead of umbrellas,
I've never
you
really
have
cared about Team
RWBY
before. Like, you know what I mean? I, like, wrote fan fiction with Team RWBY fine before. Like, you know what I mean? But now I just have no interest in actual RWBY. I just have interest in Neo, which, again, I think will change, right? But, like, most of my interest is actually on the island and, like, the mystery of the island and the new characters that are there and Neo and not everybody else, which is kind of concerning for a show that's... Because this show is called RWBY. It is not called Neo. And, like, we need to be prepared. As much as we would like to imagine that
it annoys you, much to your chagrin.
Yeah. And so I think that's just something important to, you know, to keep in mind. But I think that that's the biggest thing that happened is that I've never, like, kind of not cared about Team RWBY before.
Sure.
And that's sort of what happened. But I think the focus on the spin-off content has actually kept me interested. I think that, like, without the books, we'd be in deep trouble.
I'd still be
the
reading
only thing that's kept my mental health intact are those books. You know what I mean?
And
Some
your
may say that I'm worst for it.
Fan fiction
right?
I wrote for you.
Some may say that I'm worst for it because of the external material, but, you know, I think that the extra off like the novels helped. I don't know if Ice Queendom helped that much, but yeah, like I think that the novels did help. Yeah, but yes. I think that that's basically it from us, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed our RWBY Unpopular Opinion Hour. If you have anything else to ask us, post it in the comments down below, and we will do this again. Every week until Volume 9. I don't know. Every week until Volume 9 happens. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you later. Bye.